Warning, the following episode of See It Through My Eyes contains sensitive subject material that some listeners might find triggering. We do encourage that you listen at your own discretion. This is not to violate any of YouTube's policies, but to have an open dialogue. On behalf of everyone of this channel, See It Through My Eyes, we thank you.
What's up, my beautiful people? I'm Richie here, flying solo today. I want to start a new segment on our channel. This is going to be called Thinking Out Loud with Richie. This is my first episode. What I kind of want to do is a little therapeutic for me. I will be picking certain events that have happened throughout my life that have impacted me in many different ways and just kind of reflecting on it. This is not to, bitch and moan. This is not to slander anybody. This is just going to be me giving obviously my side of the story. I will be keeping everybody's name in the story anonymous or just generic. I don't know. I might just give them like person A, person B, just to protect everybody's privacy. Including today's story, which is going to be my experience living with a roommate. This happened a couple of years ago, started in 2020, and it didn't work out, obviously, and it impacted me in many different ways. And I kind of want to do a little self-reflection, but also kind of giving some advice for anybody kind of going through a similar situation as mine. Because it was a pretty toxic and a pretty tough and very, very traumatic situation for me. But I'm moving on and I'm ready to move forward and forgive this person. But, well, let's get into it. So, in 2020, right before, actually like a month before the pandemic hit, I actually moved out to a facility within Chicago that helps people with visual impairments, subsidized living. We're gonna keep it at that. But basically, I was living with two different individuals. Both of them were visually impaired or legally blind, at least, to different levels. I would kind of consider myself, if we're talking about the ability to see, somewhere in the middle. The roommate that I'm speaking about today, he was a little bit under me. So he had less vision than I did, whereas the other roommate that ended up becoming a good friend of mine was a little bit above me. Give a little backstory. The roommate that I had the issue with was older than me and the other roommate that became my friend. So the way things happened, I met my two roommates when I first moved in. And I was moving my stuff in, and they seemed pretty okay. I got the first glimpse at the roommate. I'm gonna call him from now on roommate A, of his intense personality. But I was like, he seems harmless. He seems like a pretty nice person. So I've shared this on the channel before. I'm a pretty reserved person. I don't like to f anybody. I don't like to get into anybody's business. I don't like people getting into my business. It's hard for me to open up to anybody. It's hard for me to trust anybody. And it's hard sometimes for me to even interact with people. I do suffer from social anxiety. And sometimes I can come off as either standoffish or a little bit antisocial. But it's not that. It's just that I sometimes find it hard to connect to people. So, the first day that I moved in, he was very talkative. I wasn't. But I tried my best. And for the next few days, I was settling in, getting adjusted into living on my own, living with two roommates, and it was great because I had finally my own space. I come from a big family. So having my own privacy and having my own space growing up was very hard. So being able to be independent as a person with a disability such as myself, that, people haven't always believed in me or given me my flowers about, the accomplishments, but that's all different, right? So, moving into it, the first few days, it was okay. I connected more with roommate B, which ended up becoming my best friend. Well, not my best friend. One of my friends, sorry. We ended up connecting a little bit more, and I started noticing something with roommate A that I had the issue with. when he would just randomly start yelling at the top of his lungs while he was in his room. And at first I was like, I don't know, maybe he's having like an issue, some sort of, I don't know, meltdown or something. So, I asked roommate B, I was like, hey, is, roommate A, is he okay? And he was like, oh, dude, don't worry about it. You'll get used to it. He does this. He just, listening to politics on the radio and then just, flying off the handles, just yelling at the radio basically in his room. For the first few weeks, me and roommate B, we did get pretty close. We would go out, we would have conversations. And he shared with me that he had already issues with roommate A. Now, mind you, roommate B had been living there for a couple of years and didn't seem to be a problematic roommate. Roommate A, however, had literally moved in there 2 months before I did, and we already had issues between both roommates before I got there. So, I was like, I'm not taking sides. That's none of my business. So, I would interact with both roommates, but I was a little bit cautious with both. Obviously, with roommate A more than roommate B. So then a couple months into the pandemic, roommate B ended up moving out. And I would visit family or girlfriend or whoever at the time. So sometimes I wasn't at the house for like literally, at the apartment for like a couple of days. So when I moved back, he texted me, roommate B did, telling me that he had moved out, wishing me luck, saying that, let's stay in contact, and good luck with roommate A. Hopefully he moved out. Yeah, he did. At least not the time that I was there. So that left me with roommate A. From now on, I'm just gonna call him roommate A, since roommate B doesn't really have anything more. Besides, we were cool. He was on our one of our interviews that hopefully we can upload soon. Real cool dude named Darian. But yeah, now as for roommate A, we're just gonna call him roommate. So from that point forward, me and roommate, we tried getting along. I tried. He would go on his random rants about politics. And to me, I have my political views, like I have my views about a lot of aspects of society and life and media, but I try not to discuss any of that with people because obviously, everybody has a different opinion and that's fine. That doesn't mean that people are always aware of how they come off or respectful of other people's opinions that might differ from their own. So, I try my best to avoid it. Roommate, would always try to engage me in those conversations about, all the stuff that was happening at that time, with the different events that happened between the police and the different African Americans that were killed at their hands. So I would just try my best, just, listen, he would tell me about his past. He would tell me just a bunch of stuff. And I would just listen and, okay, I've been here for 2 hours. I think I need to leave. I got to do my own things. So, I started kind of pushing away after a while because it was a lot of that, where he wanted me to literally be there for hours talking to him. And it's like, dude, I got things to do. And all you want to talk about is just politics, bitch and moan about society, and I've always been, if there's an issue, good to acknowledge it, but you better do something about it. Don't just complain, So that's kind of how I was. I started drifting after a while from him. Like I said, I started kind of trying to keep distance between us two. And I think he started noticing. There was an issue that happened between me and a staff member of the apartment. It was nothing bad. It was actually a situation where they forgot to give me a copy of the front keys, the keys to the front, So he intervened or, he was like, hey, why don't you got the keys? And I'm like, what? They just haven't gotten me the keys or whatever. Like, not a big deal for me. So, he started going on these like very heated rants. And I was at the point where I was like, okay, dude, like you're stepping on my toes because now you're talking to me how you go off on your rants. You're shouting, you're cursing, and it's kind of becoming harder for me to distinguish, are you cursing at me or are you talking about somebody else? So I did ask him, as polite as possible to de-escalate the situation, like, hey man, can you lower your tone? And he laughed in my face and walked off. So I was like, okay. that point forward, that's when our relationship really, really changed completely. It took a downfall and it never came back. From there, I'm not gonna go through every situation that happened, but it was multiple situations where he would approach me. Oh, you did this. Oh, you did that. Oh, you did that. And I'm a pretty open person. If you have an issue with me, come talk to me. But respectfully, just like I try to be respectful to everybody else. But no, I couldn't get that. There was, for example, one situation where he would leave one of his liquid soap in the bathtub. So we apparently had bought in similar soaps one day, and I had left mine on the floor in the bathtub when I was taking the shower, and then when I left out, obviously I'm thinking that I'm grabbing mine. Apparently, I took his by mistake. Not knowing, really had no reason because mine's literally was completely full. His was like halfway, done. Not mentioning, I'm pretty sure we don't use the same type of soap. It just looked very similar to, in the moment. So instead of asking me like, hey, did you accidentally take my soap or something? The next day, literally, I'm coming in from going grocery shopping for myself. I get, why did you take my soap? And I'm like, what the what are you talking about? And the tension went up from there. Like I said, he wouldn't calm down, he wouldn't de-escalate it. It was spiking up from that point forward. And I'm the type of person that I've shared this in my past videos that I do struggle with PTSD. I do struggle with anxiety. And I've always tried to control my anger because the minute that I cross a line, I don't go back. And I say things and I go to hurt people, and I don't feel bad afterwards. So I'm trying to de-escalate the damn situation with this guy, but it's not working. So it wasn't until I'm like, dude, let me go get the damn thing. Why the hell would I take your damn soap? And that's when we kind of backed off. And I didn't want the situation to be like that. So I remember the week after, I said hi to him, and he was like, what? And I was like, hi. And he was like, oh. So, and then he just walked off. After that, it was situation after situation after situation after situation, man. It was just always coming at me, never respectfully. It was even small situations where, it was kind of an unspoken rule where if we were in one of the rooms, the dining room, the back room, the kitchen, whatever, if someone was using it, you would wait, kind of an unspoken rule since I moved in there. Once I started having the issues with them, we started just not giving a about that unspoken rule. And he would come in, I would be listening to something in the back room. He would come in, blasting his music and stay there. And that shit started getting under my skin. Fast forward, a situation happened where I finally reached a tipping point, and I reached out to the landlord, and I was like, this is happening and this is happening. He's not my dad, but yeah, he's trying to speak to me disrespectfully like he is, and I'm holding myself back because I don't want to end up, escalating the situation because I don't back down from a fight, So I'm trying to calm my ass down. I'm trying not to go to jail. But situation kept getting worse. Finally, we had an intervention with the landlord, and we just kept going at each other and kept going at each other. And at that point, I just gave no anymore. I did not back down. I would go at it in arguments with them. I was just done. I was tired. I was exhausted. I was like, what the when I'm trying to be respectful, I try to clean up there after myself. I always try to help out. Like I mentioned earlier, he was fully blind. So even I never changed my mailing address. He did. So he was receiving mail, at the apartment. I wasn't. There was a whole stack of mail there. And I was, he asked me, are you going to read that? And I was like, well, it's not mine, but, I'll help you out. I'll read it for you. Oh, well, you're not doing me the favor. And I'm like, but I am, bro. Cause that shit ain't mine. So I'm like, what the dude? From that point forward, I tried my best to ignore him, to avoid him the best that I could, including sometimes staying in my room or just leaving and not coming back for a couple days. Um, Finally, towards the end, I was reaching the 1 year contract for my contract. Um, there was a situation where he was blasting music one night outside of my room in the kitchen until like 2 a.m. And at that point, I reached a tipping point where I had dark thoughts um, that I wanted to hurt him. And this is not the first time that I've had those dark thoughts, and I have acted on them in the past. So I knew I need to leave. I can't stay in this place with this person. He's too toxic. He's a grown ass man, and yet he's acting like a child. I'm trying to communicate. If you don't like me, I don't like you. It's a mutual feeling. Cool. But let's keep it respectful. That's all I'm asking. And I couldn't get that. So I reached out to family. I'm like, I can't keep living here. I ended up moving out. I didn't tell them anything. I just got my stuff, got the out. So finally, I moved out. It's been at least 3 years. It was hard because my pride, my ego, was very much bruised because I felt that I could have handled things differently. I could have spoken up at situations, and I let it get to the point that it did. I let a person that I had no idea or no knowledge of or relationship to undo everything that I had struggled and fought for and worked hard on, on myself. And the last few years, it took a toll on me. I am at the point where you know what? It was a bad situation living with this person. But for a year, I was living independently, not living off of anybody or needing anybody's help. I was cleaning after myself, cooking for myself, getting my own groceries, traveling on my own, paying my own bills and rent. I didn't need anybody. I know that I wasn't a perfect roommate. Maybe, I could have interacted more with them, but we all have our own struggles, and when you meet somebody new, you have to be respectful and respect their boundaries. If this person ever listens to it, you were a shitty person to me, but I forgive you. Not that I know it will matter to you, but it's okay. I moved on. You're a hateful, bitter person. That's not my problem. I am choosing not to be like that. I want to be a better person, and I want to move on. It's your loss, because I tried being the best roommate that I could. I tried being a good person to you, and you shat on me. To anybody that's going through a situation like that, whether they're disabled or not, that doesn't matter. You got to stand up for yourself. You got to speak up for yourself. And immediately. You don't have to be aggressive about it. And try your best in situations, even if the person is aggressive towards you, to remain calm. Because unfortunately, our society works. If you can prove it, that's all that matters. And if they can prove it, that you're being aggressive in that moment, even though there is that past, you're going to go getting kicked out. Sometimes people only learn when they push you so far that you finally push back. But it's also not a good situation to be in. A lot of people don't have the option, unfortunately, financially, economically, to choose. They have to kind of settle to live with another person. And whether it's a family member, a friend, or a stranger, just always keep that in mind. Do your own thing. Be careful, giving the person too much of your time. Be careful giving too much of who you are. Because if you're in situations like myself, that I found myself where I'm literally trying to become a better person and control my anger, move on from all my dark past, And here comes a person basically pushing my buttons, stepping on my toes, and trying to see how far they could push me. And I let them push me into a dark place. And it's hard to come out of those dark places. If you find yourself in those situations, maybe you can't move out in that moment, but you walk out, leave, go somewhere, you know. But like I said, speak up. Speak up at the beginning. Speak up. Don't, even if it's a small little thing. Because people, unfortunately, even if you're trying to be civil with them, they'll take advantage. And they'll push you and push you and push you. And it's best to do it calmly than when you're at the point where you're just fed up with the shit. Like I was. So hopefully this is helpful for anybody. This is not me getting on my soapbox and bitching. I'm just thinking out loud here. It's therapeutic for me, reflecting, and hopefully, like I said, it can help somebody out there. In situations like that. That I know, I mean, you could go on YouTube, you know, on Reddit, and there's like threads of different experiences with horrible roommates. I'm not gonna say mine was just completely a shit asshole, but he was not a good roommate. So hopefully you guys who are going through situations like that, this can help you guys a little bit. And hopefully you guys can find a better situation to be in. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. This is my first episode of Thinking Out Loud with Richie, and I will be, like I said, creating these videos to reflect on my life and give him a little bit of advice if I can, and hopefully it can help somebody that's going through a similar situation. Hopefully you guys are checking out our channel. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. And I hope you guys are doing well, man. Take care. I'm Richie. See you through my eyes.